Let's talk about grammatical range and accuracy. Now notice there's two words there, range and accuracy. It's not just grammar. You might see it referred to as GRA for abbreviation here. So now we're going to analyze grammatical range and accuracy in Task 1 academic writing. So first of all, important question for you. How is grammatical range and accuracy assessed in Task 1 IELTS? So there's two ways, as we mentioned, accuracy and range, but they split into other things as well. Now some of these things we mention here relate to the other one, but not accuracy. How many errors and how they affect understanding is a crucial bit for accuracy. So obviously at the higher levels, people don't make many mistakes, and at the lower levels they're making more mistakes, but it's how those mistakes affect understanding, which is how you're judged. So some of those common mistakes include subject, verb, plural nouns, articles, verb form, tenses as well. Also, you're being judged on your ability to write complex and simple sentences accurately. Finally, punctuation is important too. Are you accurate in your use of commas and full stops, capital letters for example? Now when we talk about range, that means variety. You might see the word flexible as well mentioned. That just means in more than one way. So these things as they come up now particularly relate to range, but it's also part of accuracy. So the tenses you use, can you use more than one kind of tense? Active and passive voice as well, for example. Can you use relative clauses? Can you use a variety of clauses? Can you write with some complex structures the same as accuracy, but the variety of complex sentences is what they're looking at. Can you use modal structures? And can you use verb and noun phrases? And they're also interested in how you can, especially at the high levels, the words that you use before and after verbs and nouns, are they accurate as well? So as I've just said, these things cross over a little bit. So the errors relates to tenses, relative clauses, everything on the range side. The range is just things that you can try your best for a variety in. Now let's think about pre-writing. As we keep talking, keep mentioning to you, pre-writing is important. When you do step 1, the outside, you're looking around the outside, the words will show you if it's in the past, if it's in the present, or if it's in the future. You should write that down on your piece of paper, write it directly on the booklet, on the first inside page. That will show you the pie chart or the table or whatever it is. And then once you've written that, when you finish, you can come back and note that. If you've, for example, if it's in the past, you can come back and say, okay, do I have past verb tenses? If you're not sure about the pre-writing, make sure you go back and review the pre-writing lessons that we talked about for all 6 of the Task 1 types of writing. So now we're going to preview what we're going to do in this rest of this session. So we're going to be looking at the different kinds of Task 1 writing in IELTS. Remember we're focusing on grammar today, so the other points like task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource have been discussed in other videos, so that's not the focus today. The focus is on grammar points. Bear in mind though, the grammar points that we point out in one of the writing, you should look at that and think about that in other sample writing that you see today, and after the class as well. You can come back and check that. That's a really good way to extend this lesson. So let's start straight off with the line graph, which you've seen before. What kinds of errors do you notice the candidate making? So the main thing was the tense form. We'll go through it paragraph by paragraph quite slowly for you here. So what do you notice happening there? So the first 4 are all the wrong tense, aren't they? And then actually the opposites happened with increased. They've gone the other way. Fold is the wrong kind of, that's not the simple past form of foul, so they've made a mistake there. So consider yourself again, now you've seen these actual mistakes, hopefully you've noticed them already, but have another little think if you haven't. How would you correct them? If you're not sure, make sure you look at the line graph. It shows you on there, it gives you a clue what to use. And here come the corrections. Yes, it should have been past. So those first two, pretty obvious there. Now this is a wee bit more tricky in the middle here. So in this paragraph was is should have been was, but the next one has climbed to 1750, should have been had climbed, and we've got past perfect there with a couple of exclamation marks, because this right away narrows an example. If the candidate had got that correct, that would have been, wow, that's good, they're using the past perfect, they're showing off their tense ability. And this next sentence is quite complicated grammar. It continued to gradually increase, not increased, finishing at about 2000. So this is a complex verb phrase. This is high-level grammar. If you got this correct, this is very good. Unfortunately, the candidate's got one of the words in the verb phrase wrong. But if you got it correct, good job. This would be excellent. Continue to gradually increase. So it's actually a noun there. Finishing at. Or you could have written it like this. It continued to gradually increase and finished at. In the next paragraph, as we just mentioned, the full should be felt. That's the wrong form of the word. The other two are just the past tense, making a mistake. But you look at the line graph and you can see 1990 to 2000. So you should be writing down past, and then you don't make those mistakes. And even if you do make those mistakes, you can come back and check later on. So very common, those errors, and for a number of candidates in the IELTS test. Now let's look at another common problem here, which is plural noun forms. So this time, different to last time, we've already highlighted where the candidate may have made a mistake. So we want you now to think, is this accurate or not accurate? Should it be female or should it be females? And go through those other ones. So the truth is here that most of them should have been plural nouns. We'll go through paragraph by paragraph. So the words that were not plural were uncountable nouns or abstract nouns like education. But anything you can count, put an S on it. This is a very common student mistake here as well, these mistakes that we're showing now. Down here again, data, survey, and amount. That amount should be in red because they're examples of no S, because they're uncountable nouns or abstract nouns. Okay, and also we can see survey, right before the word survey is the article the. So we should not really have a plural noun anyway there. Now, one of the problems with plural nouns is that they can compound. Now, compound means that that adds to an existing problem. So we've got this numbers. Here's some examples for you coming up here. What is the plural noun? Is it a plural noun mistake, or is it something else, or is it a combination of things? So pause and have a think. Talk to your partner about that. This is a good thing to discuss with your partner. And then we see here are the answers coming up. For number one, it should be these numbers, or it could have been this number. So that's a good example of coherency and cohesion. Good substitution there if you get that correct. So number two is confusing because are you talking about one country or two countries? So it's either these countries or this country. Now 3 is an example of where we might have the article the before it. This is common in a process, this example here. The bricks are then made. Very common mistake, that one. And number 4, people. So that's a plural noun. So then it should be not is but are. And the pie charts shows. No, the pie charts show. So this is a very common subject-verb agreement error. And number 4, a person who is. So most students do understand these errors, but it's easy to overlook them, especially when you're writing fast. So make sure you spend a little time at the end checking on them.